Yes. Fire
Mm.
away.
So, do we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or is it Mondays and Wednesdays?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I was looking at the wrong thing. We are meeting Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay. Okay.
12:30 to 2:15, and today is Wednesday, and that is correct. So sorry. I
Okay.
do have a
No problem.
Tuesday, Thursday at 12:30, and I confused you all for a minute. Thank you
Yeah, I
for
was just
correcting
wondering.
that.
Yeah.
And
No
your name
problem.
is, who are you?
My name is Freddie Lopez.
Thank you, Freddie.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. And so in the modules, um, after today's lesson, sometime later this afternoon, I will be posting the video. The videos will be right before Module 0. Um, so in Module 0, you can see one of the things you see down here is a schedule of Math 102. And I'm going to click on that, and it puts up our schedule. And what I'd highly recommend is that you, on your own computers, you do the download the schedule, and then you print it out if you have a printer. And that you refer to this daily. It'll tell you exactly what happens every day in this course, what section we're covering and what's due. Okay, so you see today is the 9th, Wednesday the 9th, and we're going to be doing 1.1 real numbers. And you see the next time that we meet on the 14th, you have something due. It's called the spot check of 1.1. And then, but you won't actually turn in 1.1 until Wednesday of next week. So there are two separate parts of each assignment. One is the spot check, and the other is when you actually need to have the final version of it ready to be graded. Okay, and then you'll see each one of these. Like every day, immediately the day after I teach something, you have what's called a spot check of that thing. And then whatever I teach in week 2, you'll be turning in week 3. Whatever I teach in week 3, you have a full week before you have to turn in the final version of it in week 4. There's a 1-week delay, but the spot checks are due immediately after each of the assignments. Now, what is a spot check? The spot check is you have to have at least 75% of the assignment completed, and then you upload that for the spot check. When you upload it, what most students do is they do their homework on paper and pencil the old-fashioned way. You don't have to do it that way. You could do it in some kind of word processor or something, but it's a little bit hard to do math in a word processor. So that's why most do it paper and pencil, and then they take pictures of it, but you'll do it a whole lot easier, and you'll really thank yourself if you get a scanning app. You'll get way better quality, and it'll be way faster. With a scanning app, you don't have to take, like if your homework is on 5 separate pieces of paper, you don't have to take 5 pictures and then move each one over. It'll put the 5 pages as one document, and then you upload one time. And so it saves you a bunch of time, and it's much easier for me to read too if you use. And there's lots of free scanning apps. I'm going to be putting you in groups in a little while, and one of the group conversations might be, what scanning app do you use? And you can, if you're looking to find one, you can find one that will be compatible with your phone. All right, so we're back in looking at the modules. So now the schedule also has when the tests are, what sections the tests cover, what's due, and there's something due pretty much every single day. Every day something, either a spot check or turning in homework or both, is due. All right, now let me back up here. So in the modules, you'll see Module 1 as this part here is practice book homework 1.1 real numbers. And if you click on that, you'll see that this is worth 7 points, and it just tells you what the problems are. And then it has a button there that says Submit Assignment. And you click on that button to upload and submit your work. And I'm going to hit back. So each assignment is worth 10 points, but 3 of the points come from the spot check. Now, if I click on, immediately after this is the spot check for 1.1. I click on that, and all this is it says it's worth 3 points, and there's a Submit Assignment button. You click on that to submit your assignment. And this, notice, it'll have a due date, and it'll only be available up to that due date. And so the spot check, you can't turn it in late. The whole idea is it's checking to see that you're being on time. That I assign it one day, the very next day, you have at least 75% of it done, you've uploaded it, and you're able to ask good questions on the homework. That way, when I'm actually going to be grading the homework, you have this nice big delay before that. So you'll find most days that there'll be some really tough questions that you weren't sure about, that you get to ask about, and others have asked, and you get to see them being worked out, and then you'll get extra clarity. You go back, fix everything just right, and then you upload that into the other one that says book assignment, book homework 1.1 real numbers. Also, if you don't like uploading and you only want to upload once, you could do that. You could just upload the spot check, and if you had everything done and everything done just the way you wanted it, then that's fine. When I'm grading the homework, if I don't see anything in a section like 1.1 book homework, then I will just grade what's in the spot check. I'll assume that you meant to have the spot check graded for the homework. All right. Any questions on this so far? All right.
No question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No.
All right, I hear a male and a female voice. Let's have the female voice go first. Briefly identify yourself, who you are, and then state your question. Go ahead, the female. All right, let's switch over to the male. There was a question.
Yes, so the spot check, is it essentially the same thing as the book homework where
Yes,
you
it's exactly the same problems. It's just that I want to make sure that you're not waiting to the last minute to do it.
Okay, and if I don't want to upload twice, I can just upload it directly to the spot check?
You can just upload it to the spot check. If you had it 100% done, then and you're not going to change anything, then you could just leave it.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah, that was a question I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? All right.
Could you explain why the spot check has an earlier due date than the assignment itself? I'm sorry, I was just a little confused.
All right. Good question. Let's look back at the schedule. So, the schedule. All right. In week 1.1, but that 1.1 is not due to be turned in until the end of the next week. In week 2, we do 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. That's not due to be turned in until the end of the 3rd week. So the 2nd week assignment doesn't need to be done until the end of the 3rd week. But every single day, you have to have a spot check for the next day that we meet. So today I'm going to assign 1.1. The next time we meet is Monday. Before you come into class on Monday, you need to have 1.1 uploaded into the spot check, at least 75% complete, so that you're able to ask good questions about it.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I think the spot check doesn't have to be complete when you upload it,
That's
but the
right.
assignment
It does not have to be
does.
complete. All right.
Oh.
The reason why I'm doing 2 separate uploads for each assignment, and one's a spot check, is because I remember what it was like when I was a student. And when I had a class, a math class that had homework due at the end of the week, what I would do typically is I'd wait till the night before it was all due, and I would do all my homework right before it was due. And it wasn't because I was a bad student or that I was lazy. It was just because I always felt overwhelmed. And I was always doing the thing that was the next deadline. And that's just how I got conditioned to operate. So I realized, though, that when I was turning in stuff every single day, rather than waiting the night before it was due, there was no comparison to how much I learned. And to be able to ask questions, like, I really didn't understand these last 3 problems, and then I get to ask about it, it just makes a huge difference. And then you can go back and make sure that you get everything right. So that's what the spot check will do for you. It'll make sure that you stay on track, that you can ask the questions, you don't have that frustration of the night before the homework is due, that you start doing the homework and then you find out that you're stuck, and then you're really screwed. All right. Okay, so that's a really big component of the structure of this course. Let me go to simple syllabus. Click on the simple syllabus. Here's our course syllabus. The syllabus in a college course is really a contract between you and your instructor, how things are going to work, and how your grade's going to be determined. And so in this syllabus, you have my basic contact information. The textbook is here. Also, I put in the announcements information about the textbook. Hopefully you all have your textbook. If you don't, in Module 0, towards the end, 1.1 and 1.2, images of those sections are uploaded there, so you can find them. Course description. Alright, lots of things. How your grade gets determined. A pretty standard grading scale at this school. Somewhere in the 90s you get some form of an A. Somewhere in the 80s you get some form of a B, etc. And then how your course grade is calculated. 40% of your grade comes from your homework. Your exams, another 40%, and the final exam is 20%. So that 60% of your grade is coming from testing and 40% from the homework. All right, now how the homework is going to work. The objective is for every student to get 10 out of 10 for every homework assignment. So when I'm grading problems, what I will do is, instead of saying, oh, I only got half of these correct, so you only get 50%, I'll tell you which problems you need to redo. And then you'll have 1 week to redo those problems. After that feedback, you don't need to upload the entire assignment. Only upload the problems that you were told to redo. So for instance, if I tell you just one problem, just, number 16, redo this problem because it's incorrect, then, and that was in the 1.1 homework thing, okay? Then all you have to do is upload problem 16. You don't have to upload the whole problem set. I've already given you credit by saying redo number 16, I'm kind of acknowledging all the rest of the stuff was there, and you need to do number 16 over again. And then once you redo number 16, I'll check again to see if it's correct. If it's not correct, I'll again say you need to redo it again, and then you have 1 week to do that again. And then, but if you do that correctly, then you'll get 10. You get 100%. And you know, if you had your spot check as well, then you'll get 10 out of 10. Okay. So the homework is really the main thing is staying on top of it, because you should be getting 10s out of 10s, because I'll be helping you to get 10 out of 10 each time. The late work, your first late assignment, full credit, but future late assignments you only get half credit. So that's the way that you can shoot yourself in the foot, is by not keeping up with the spot checks. If you don't have the spot check on a given day, the best you can get is 7 out of 10 on the homework. All right, and then if by a due date for a homework you don't have it turned in, well, you can turn it in late. That's fine, but you only get half credit. All right, so that's the way to shoot yourself in the foot, is by falling behind. Okay, and then spot checks. All this in here describes what I've already described about how the spot check works. And it says in this portion, if there's no upload for an assignment, I'll grade the spot check. Okay, and it also says that after the halfway point in the semester, there will be no separate upload for spot checks. There'll only be, like when we get to chapter 7, 7.2, there won't be a 7.2 spot check upload, just a 7.2 assignment upload. And the reason for that is because Canvas itself only allows me so many assignments that I can put in there. I've kind of doubled it by having you do, 2 uploads for each assignment. So right around the halfway point is when I get to my limit. But we will still do spot checks for the remainder of the semester, the whole semester. But there's just one upload spot to do it in after the halfway point. So in 7.2 you'll upload the spot check by that time, and then by the time the assignment is due, you could either just leave that in there if it was perfect, or if not, you can just replace it with a new upload. All right, any questions? All right, let's keep going on. So diversity statement. I also want to just mention, it's not in my syllabus, but I really stand behind the Black Lives Matter movement and the racial injustices that have been perpetrated in our country since the foundation of this country, and it's about time that we as a country are starting to address these issues. I think that's the main stuff I wanted to go over from the syllabus. All right, now for this class we will go in 2 45-minute chunks. We're going to go from 12:30 to 1:15, and then we'll be taking approximately 1:15. Then we'll take a 15-minute break, and then approximately 1:30 to 2:15 we'll do the second half of the class. All right, so the next thing I want to do now is let's go into Discord, and you see on the left these groups. Does everybody see? It says group 1, group 2, all the way through group 5. You're going to be assigned one of these groups. And once you're assigned a group, you're going to click, suppose I'm assigned to group 2. Then I would click on group 2, and then notice, as soon as I've clicked on group 2, the general text channel has disappeared, and just group 2 text channel is showing up. And I can type stuff in here, and just my group will see it, the other people who are in group 2. Now at any point, I can go back and click under text channels, click general, and I'll be back to the general text channel. You're going to have to switch back and forth between these during class. You're going to have about approximately 4 to 5 people per group, and you'll be communicating with each other throughout class, and then you'll be having to check in with the general text channel as well, back and forth. All right. Now, anytime, like in the middle of class, when you're on the general text channel, if somebody in your group puts an entry into your group number, you'll get a notification of it. And then you can quickly click over and see what they're saying. And you can be going back and forth. What you need to do, though, as soon as you find out your group number, I'm going to have you go to your group number and just type hi, H-I, and enter. And that'll tell everybody who your name is, and it will tell you, and it'll tell everybody that you're in the group. Now, I'm looking at the names. It looks like everybody put in their name as their login instead of nicknames. That's great. So we know who each other are from that. All right. So what I'm going to have you do beyond that is you also need to go to all the other groups that you are not a member of, and you've got to mute those channels. So if I'm a member of group 2, I don't want to get a notification whenever group 1 or group 5 or group 3 is chatting to each other. So let me show you how to silence the other groups. I'm going to silence each one of these. So you right-click, group 1, mute channel, all the way down until I turn it back on. Then I go to group 2, mute channel until I turn it back on. I'm going to do that's good. All right, so I've just muted them all. And you're going to mute all but your group. Now, your group, you can see it right here. Find your name, see your group number, go back to Discord, type in hi in your group number, and then mute all the other groups. Excuse me. Okay, so everybody should have seen their group number, and you may still be muting. Let me just check real quick. Alright, there's at least 2 people in every group today, so somebody to interact with. And a quick question. Is there anybody that does not have a microphone? Okay. And you can just enter that into the text channel, the main general text channel if you don't. All right, looks like everybody has a microphone. That's good. So, alright. So, the next thing is this. Students who know why they are in school tend to stick it out until they graduate. When I was deciding, it was in my senior year of high school, and I was trying to decide what college to go to. And I got some advice that turned out to be some really good advice, which was, the analogy was given as if you're in a sailboat and you're out in the water, but you don't put up your sail. Well, then you turn the steering wheel all you want, and it doesn't do you any good. But you put up your sail, and you start moving, and then you turn the steering wheel, and it makes a big difference. And so the advice I got was, go ahead and pick what field of study, what you want to do when you get out of college. Go ahead and pick it, and then change your mind as much as you want to. It's way more efficient to change your mind while you're in college. You know, pick something, start taking courses in that, and if you decide you don't like it, get out of it, go to something else. But have some kind of destination in mind. That's kind of like having your sail up, rather than just spinning the steering wheel and not doing anything. So I have a small exercise in that vein right now. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to make up a fantastical answer that might have at least some link to reality. And so the issue is, why are you in school? And what are you going for? What kind of a career? And I'm going to have you go into your group and type in a kind of a made-up theoretical answer that has some link to truth. So for instance, suppose I have no idea. I've never really thought about what my major is going to be. I'm just here getting my basics so that I can do whatever. But I've kind of always liked flying. But it's kind of something I've never really thought about seriously, but at least it's something that I like. I might say to myself, all right, and then the fantastical part of this might be, I'm going to become a pilot. And, it might be kind of boring piloting commercial airlines all day. I'm going to be a stunt plane pilot. And I'm going to do simulations of World War II fighter pilot battles. And I'm going to be, and then I'm going to go and make up whatever. And, or if I am thinking of, I think about it and I say, maybe I'll be an elementary school teacher. And then I'll say something like, I'm going to be an elementary school teacher, but I'm not going to do it the way that most teachers do it. I'm going to make sure that every kid really enjoys being there. And what's going to be a higher priority than teaching them their ABCs is to make sure that every kid is having fun, they love it there, and that we're really kind to each other. And even if I get flack from the principal because I'm not doing things the way you're supposed to, I I'm going to imagine that in time, the other teachers will start doing it the way I'm doing it. And that the principal will then say, oh, everybody do it the way Robert's doing it. Because the kids are learning more that way. So anyway, I'm just saying you're going to let your imagination go, if you want to, on this as where you might go. And so go into your group in Discord and
Hello.
yes.
Um, this is Amalia Regan. I am having troubles going back to the group. I don't see the option anymore.
Okay, you go. Okay, so go to the left and then use your scroller on your mouse and move up and then move up and down. You can see the groups. Is that helping?
No, I just see every. Oh, got it. Yes, I
Okay,
see it.
good,
Thank you.
good. And then you can click on your group number. And then this will be kind of a little bit of an introduction of yourself to your other group members. And also an exercise in just seeing what you might want to go into, what kind of fields of study. So let me give you a couple minutes to type that in. All right, so there's one other thing, and you can still be typing that in now, is each group, you're going to have a group leader. The group leader for each group is going to make sure that well, they're going to have some basic jobs to do, and each group has got to have a group leader. And if nobody wants to be a group leader, you're going to have to, like, you know, somebody flip a coin or something like that, or roll a die. But the group leader each day is going to make sure we're going to rotate the spokesman. The spokesman, we're going to go in alphabetical order by first name. So if, like, your first name was Amy, you might well be the spokesman today for your group, with the letter A. And if your name is Bob, then, you know, you might be the spokesman the next time that we meet. So we'll rotate that. So the group leader is going to make sure that the group knows who the spokesman for the group is that given day. So that's one of the jobs of the group leader. Because you might forget. You come into class and you'll say, oh, who was the spokesman last time? I can't remember. And, well, the group leader is, and if the group leader can't remember, they'll just make up something. And they'll say, you know, I think it was so-and-so, so you're the spokesman today. And because often I will be giving tasks, and then I'll say, okay, group 2, what'd you get on this? And then the group the spokesman for the day is going to then say, this is what we got in this task. The other thing the group leader is going to do is if I call on group 2 and the spokesman of the day is not answering, then the group leader will then jump in and say, okay, here's our group answer. And that can happen. If, we have some students that are parents of small children, and, when there's a crisis happening, you just got to go and be with your kid. And so, they might be the spokesman of the day, but they're off with their kid. Or they might be having computer problems. And then the spokesman or the group leader will jump in. And then, also, when I'm explaining new material, this doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. If you're lost while I'm explaining something, you want to get into your group and put a little something that says, you just type a little message that says, I'm lost. And then the group leader's job will be, if the group leader sees a message, I'm lost, and either agrees with it, because they're lost too, or they see 2 such messages, then it's the group leader's responsibility to interrupt me verbally. Turn on your mic and say, Robert, hold on. I know you're right in the middle of something, but we got somebody who's lost. And then I'll address, and then we'll make sure that we get things straightened out. Okay. So, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a 15-minute break, but before we take the break, have it figured out. You'll need a volunteer or somebody, some way to decide who the group leader is for each of the 5 groups, and then also have your little fantastical introduction of what you might, what career path you might go on. And then we will start again at 1:30. So start again at 1:30. And I'm going to mute my microphone, and I'll be stepping away from my computer until 1:30 as well. Any questions or comments before we take this break?
Could I verbally discuss it with my group, or?
Okay. Everybody in the whole class is going to hear if you do that.
Okay.
So, no, you're going to have to use the chat when you do that.
Okay.
It reminds me of one other thing, though, is notice there's these group numbers, group 1 through 5, and then there's
Yes.
a text channel, and then there's the voice channel, and then underneath the voice channel, there's another voice channel that's called Study Time with Voice. And now if you click on that, it'll take you out of our channel and you'll no longer be screen sharing with me. So this is not to be done during class, but this can be done if you, if you and your group members are getting together, and I'm going to give you some work to do outside of class. And if you want to get together so that you can, talk to each other and type in, you might want to go in this one, Study Time with Voice. Okay, and that's just to give you a little bit of a sense of, privacy, because the next time we come in to here, if you were doing it on the main text channel, the main text channel or voice channel, we'd all see some of your typewritten comments. But if you go in there, you're you have a little more privacy. So that's why that's set up, and so you can get together with other people via that.
That's what I want to do. I just want to get together using that study time and just briefly discuss it with the group.
That's the place to do it, and that's where you can.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'll see you at 1:30. We'll take a little break right now.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. Everyone who's a member of the group 3, please go to study time with voice.
Oh, but you'll be, you know what, maybe do that after class. because you'll have
Okay.
to reconnect with, they'll take you out of the screen sharing.
Oh, okay.
And you'd have to restart that. So yeah, outside of class would be better.
Okay. All right. I'll just discuss it. We'll just discuss in group 3.
Yeah, in group 3 with the chat for right now. Yeah.
Thanks, Chip.
You're welcome. Yeah, you can only be in one voice channel at a time. It'll knock you out of the other one if you get in that one.
Okay. Whoops.
All right, welcome back. We're going to start up again. It's 1:30, and I'm trusting now that every group has a group leader. You've kind of introduced yourselves a little bit, and you have a task as a group. Before next class, which is going to be next week, Monday at 12:30, you need to somehow communicate with your group members and check that problems. Let me come back here. Space. Check with group members. 1.1 problems. (24 and 30). So you're to make sure that you agree on your answers so that hopefully you are correct. So odd number problems, the answers are in the back of the book and you can check. But even number problems are usually the ones that are going to be graded, that you want to be sure that you're correct on. And so those two problems you need to check. And ways that you might want to get together is you might all decide on a time when you're going to get together, and you can get together in Discord. And you can go to that group study channel or to the main channel, either one. You can go to the voice channel. And if you do that, you can have one person screen share, or you can just go to either one of those, the voice channel or the group voice channel, and be texting each other, typing stuff in, and then you can also hear each other. If you also, in Discord, you see this little plus sign. If I go right here and click on the plus sign, it immediately goes to my computer and says, what file do you want to upload? And if I click on, one of these files, then it puts it right in here, and then that's how you can share it with everybody else. So you can share pictures or files or all kinds of things like this. Or one of you could initiate a screen share your screen by clicking on this button down here, share your screen, and then you kind of have to, I don't think I want to do it right now because we're already sharing the screen. It might turn it off. Or you could get together via Zoom, whatever format you're comfortable with. You can even just talk on the phone. And also, you can be totally flexible if, there's 4 people in your group and you can't find a time that all 4 work, then 2 people could get together at one time and 2 others can get together at another time, whatever works. But before you leave class today, work out with your group how you're going to deal with that group assignment there, to check those problems before next class. And by the way, those will be 2 of the problems that I'm going to be looking at when I check that assignment of 1.1 when I grade it. So that's it's going to help you for getting the work correct. All right, and now I have a assignment. a task for you. So go into your groups and enter in a plan to become a millionaire before you die. A plan to become a millionaire before you die. I'm only going to give you less than a minute. And then also ask yourselves, is it realistic? So as quick as you can, how in the world could you become a millionaire before you die? And is your plan realistic? I'll give you a minute. Thirty seconds left. Okay, let me have you stop. And when I call on a group, you can always say pass for whatever reason. Just say, I don't want to answer pass on this. But I'm going to call on group 4. Do you have anything for a possible plan to become a millionaire? And is it realistic or not?
I put, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is Randolph. I put, I could open a small chain of restaurants featuring my own personal homemade recipes, but it's not a realistic thing
All right.
at all.
All right. Thank you. Now, this task, to come up with a plan to become a millionaire, is pretty much an impossible task to come up with in a minute. But I want to show you something that might startle you. And we're going to go to OneNote right now. And in the announcements, so let me just go back, before I go into OneNotes, let me go back into announcements for the class. All right. Getting ready, first class. This announcement, it talked about Discord, and at the bottom, downloading Microsoft Office, and inside Office there's an application besides Microsoft Word and Excel. There's an application called OneNote. And OneNote is what I'm using right here. And it's really quick and easy. You click, once you download OneNote, you click on this link, and then you're going to be able to see this throughout the semester. I'm going to be putting all our notes in here, and you'll have access to them all. And so what I want to show you is this. $2 per day. Does anybody have a habit that costs $2 a day? You might think, coffee and donuts, or a candy bar, or a couple of them. A lot of people have habits that are more than this each day. Now, each one of these is going to get you $1 million. If at 10% yearly interest. And $2 a day habit for 50 years will turn out to be at the end of 50 years, if you're getting 10% interest per year, you will have $1 million. Now it turns out that it's only $36,500 that you would have invested, but the interest on it will bring its total value to $1 million in your lifetime. All right, so if you're 20 years old now, you might be 70 years old by the time you're a millionaire on this plan. And if I was in your shoes, one of the questions I would ask right away is, well, 10%, how do you get 10% interest? If you put your money in the bank right now, you'll get less than 1% interest. Well, how in the world can you get 10% interest? Well, the history of the stock market since its inception has averaged a return of around 10% per year. So you have to take risks to make money. Some people have put in their money in stocks, and then the stocks have gone out of business and they've lost all their money. That happened to my grandfather in the Great Depression. All right, so you have to take risks to make money, but a lot of people have made a lot of money in the stock market. Notice it's a really small amount, but it's a really long time. All right, and then if you wanted to go in 40 years, turns out you have to invest $6 a day, and you wind up having to pay about $87,600 to get that. And if you wanted it in 30 years, you have to pay $15 every day into this account, and you're putting in $164,250. If you wanted it in 20 years, you would have to be putting in $45 every day. And you'd wind up having to invest about $328,500. All right, so there's just a little taste of how it is you could become a millionaire. Now the thing is, people say, well, I'm too old to learn about this. Why didn't you tell me about this when I was younger? If I'm 50 years old now and I just hear about this, then I'd be 100 years old and it wouldn't do me much good. Well, actually, I heard about this late. And one of the things I did was I set up something similar for my kids when they were born. That small amounts of money, and I didn't do it quite like this, $2 a day and so on, but when my boys were each, they're older. I have a boy who's 17 and one who's 20 years old. But when they were about 8 and 9 years old, we had some funds that we'd kind of been saving small bits, and we got up to $600 or so, and I asked them and I explained how it would work. If we put this money into an IRA account, it's an individual retirement account, that you get a penalty if you take it out before you retire. But they had a lot of time between 6 years old and 60 years old to let that money grow. And I showed them, and we got into Excel, and I showed them how it would become so much money. And I asked, all right, do you want this $600 now, or do you want to invest it? And they said, oh, invest it. And so I did. And then one of my sons is a huge spender, and he hasn't added any more to it. But the other son has added considerable amount to that. And so he's got a big savings plan going for when he gets older, and he has lots of time on his side. All right, so I just wanted to give you that as a preview of some of the kind of, once you get comfortable with math, you wind up being able to do things like plan your monetary future, not live from one crisis to another economically. And so some basic math skills. And this, to work all this out, there's some kind of tricky math to it. But we'll get a fair amount of understanding on a lot of these basics in this class. All right, now let's go to the section for today, which is 1.1, real numbers. And we're going to start out with what I call a practice quiz. And practice quizzes, you don't turn them in, but you take them as if it's a real quiz. And so you're just using your thinking noggin. You're not looking up the answers at all on any of these problems. Typically practice quizzes, like on the practice quiz on the next time that we meet, I'll give you some problems from this homework that you're going to have to do today, the 1.1. So very often practice quizzes are material that we recently had, and I want to see how well you do on them when you take them in a quiz format where you can't look at any examples, you can't look at a textbook or anything. All right. So this right now, go ahead and work this out on your own. You ate 4 out of 6 pieces of a pizza. Write what fraction of the pizza you ate with 3 different fractions. They all should be equal to one another, what we call equivalent fractions. But what fraction of the pizza did you eat? 4 out of 6. Let me give you a little bit of time to do that. Okay, now stop where you are, and even if you only came up with 1 or 2 or whatever, go into Discord real quick, your chat, your group, and type in your answers and see if you can get all 3 by looking at the other answers from your group members. I'm going to give you just 15 seconds to do that, so work quick. Okay, group 5. Can you give me as many different fractions as you can for this? Group 5, are you there? Sometimes it takes some people.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, we have 2/3,
Aha.
4, 6, and 8/12.
Very good. You can go up as well as reducing it. All of these are what we call equivalent fractions. They mean the same thing. How do you generate an equivalent fraction from another fraction? Well, that's the kind of problem that'll be in your textbook. So let's do number 16 right here. So it says, write each fraction as an equivalent fraction with denominator of 60. So I'm going to give you a moment to try to unpack that. Figure out what in the world does that mean, and to do that problem. just number 16. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. 5/12 equals, it says, write it as equivalent fraction with a denominator of 60. So then, what is it that I'm allowed to do to this that I have to do to this? Now, if I add like, I don't know what, 48, that'll get me to 60. So this would be like 53/60th. Did I do this correctly? 53/60th is really close to 1. It's more than 1/2. 5/12 is less than 6/12. It's less than 1/2. This is totally wrong. If you add something to the top and the bottom, it does not preserve the equal sign. You don't get an equivalent fraction. So 5/12 equals something over 60. What you're allowed to do is to either multiply or divide both numbers by the same thing. And if you want to simplify the fraction, make this smaller, you can divide both sides by something. But we're going to multiply by 5. Multiply by 5. And then you get 25/60ths. And that's exactly the kind of thing that was done over here. This was multiplied by top and bottom by 2 to get from 2/3 to 4/6, or from 4/6 down here, divide top and bottom by 2. And then multiply top and bottom by 2 to get 8/12. So that's the only thing that's allowed, is multiplying or dividing with a fraction to preserve the value of the fraction. Any questions? All right. So let's go to the next type of problem. Everybody do number 22. I'm going to give you a minute for that. All right. So this one, we do what's inside the absolute value. So this means absolute value. And we do what's inside of it first. 6 minus 1 is 5. And then we're not done. We have to take the absolute value of 5. Now, common student mistake is to say the absolute value of 5 is negative 5, but it's not. The absolute value of 5 is still positive 5. The absolute value of a number is always going to give you a positive result. And if it's always going to give you a positive result, then half the time or so, like if you were taking the absolute value of a negative number, the absolute value is doing something. It's getting rid of the negative sign. But in this case, the absolute value doesn't really do anything. It just leaves the 5 alone, and we just get 5. Okay. So the result of absolute value is always positive. And the result is positive because what does absolute value really mean? Absolute value, absolute value of a number is the distance of that number from 0 on the number line. All right. Now, when I've asked my students in the past, when I've used OneNotes, most students say that they take notes. They like to take notes. It keeps them engaged. It gives them some piece of paper that has kind of the most important information. But you'll also have access to everything here in OneNotes. So if I go too fast for you ever, and you have to make a decision, do I pay attention or do I finish writing this down, you can always choose to just pay attention. And then you can come back later, look at the OneNotes, and fill in your notes more completely later. Now what this means is, like, if I had a number line, and if I had 0, 1, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, then if I was saying, all right, if somebody's ever asked you, how many miles do you live from work? Have you ever heard somebody say, oh, I live negative 4 miles from work? Never. Distances are always positive. And that's why the answer is always positive. The absolute value is a distance. So what's the distance of this from here? It's 4 units away, so I get 4. What's the distance between 3 and 0? It's 3. So the absolute value of a number is always going to give you positive. Now, in these later problems, we also have order of operations. And in order of operations, many of you have heard of PEMDAS, which means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, in that order. But not quite. There's something a little bit wrong and a little bit screwy in PEMDAS. So if we have a problem that looks like this, 8 minus 2 times 3. All right. Very typically, a lot of students might think that this is going to be 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. This is wrong. Why is this wrong? Because of PEMDAS. Now, the idea behind PEMDAS is that addition and subtraction are the least powerful operations. But it doesn't mean addition comes before subtraction, though that's the part that's kind of confusing about this. Addition and subtraction are equally important. And if they're both there, you do the one on the left first, and then you do the one on the right. Just like we read from left to right, we do our math from left to right when we can. Multiplication and division are the next most powerful operations. But neither one is more powerful than the other. Like, for instance, if I start with 7, and I multiply by 5, and then divide by 5. 7 times 5 is 35, divided by 5 is back to 7. If I multiply and divide, I get right back to 7. If I multiply and divide by the same number. So neither one is more powerful, multiplication or division, but they are both more powerful than addition or subtraction. You can get much bigger numbers by multiplying than adding or subtracting. Okay, and then exponents are the most powerful of all. So what it really means, the essence of all this, is that it's the more powerful operations go first.
Excuse me, could I
Yes,
add something?
you bet.
Okay. So the best way how I remember PEMDAS is, a previous teacher told me, is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is the best way to remember it when it comes to order of operations. It's kind of silly,
Very
but
good. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is the best way I remember PEMDAS when I'm doing order of operations. I just thought I'd
Cool.
throw that in
Thank you
there.
very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So now we look at it like this. We're going to say, oops, 8 minus 2 times 3. There's a subtraction and multiplication, but the multiplication is going to have to happen first. It's a more powerful operation. And then 8 minus 6 is 4, and then that's my answer right here. All right. So these problems are going to have some order of operation aspects to the problems as well as you do some of these. So let's take one of those. Let me have you do number 28. Let's take a minute. Everybody do 28. All right, here we there. This is what I want. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. If you're not sure, just keep pushing forward and try to get an answer. Make a guess. Okay, now take your final answer, go to your group number, and just enter in what your final answer was. So everybody go ahead and do that. All right, group number 1. Did you get more than one final answer, or was everybody's the same?
So far, it looks like we're all the same.
What did you get?
0.
0. All right, let's work it out together. See if we get that same answer. All right, so it'll be 12 minus... Now what I'm going to do first is the innermost thing in the innermost parentheses. So I'm going to turn that into a 2. So I'm going to get 9 minus the absolute value of 9 minus 3 times 2. And then I'm going to say that this is going to be replaced with a 6. And then I'm going to get 12 minus the absolute value of 9 minus 6, which is 12 minus the absolute value. Now 9 minus 6 is 3, which is 12 minus 3, which is 9. All right, 0 seems to make sense. So how did you wind up getting 0? Can you explain group 1?
I did the 9 minus 3 instead of multiplying the 3 times 2.
Gotcha. Now if we did it that way, you'd have gotten 6, and then 6 times 2 is 12. That's right, and then 12 minus 12 would be getting the 0. All right. Boy, doesn't it show how easy it is to do the 9 minus 3 first? It feels like that should happen first because it's on the left. We go from left to right. But the multiplication has to happen first. So that order of operations can be kind of tricky. So there's a trick to help us see this and to make less mistakes. And let me show you the trick that's kind of helpful on things. So it's, if we had something like this, and let me go to a different color here. 9 minus, this one was 3 times 2. 9 minus 3 times 2. All right. The idea is terms. Oops. Terms are separated by addition, subtraction, or an equal sign. All right. So, when we look at this problem over here now, and let me underline this. So that's a definition. It'll be a very important definition to us. Terms are separated by addition, subtraction, and or. If I look at this expression, 9 minus 3 times 2, and I say, how many terms are there? My first instinct would be to say, well, there's 1, 2, 3 terms. But that's not true. There's 3 different numbers, but not all of them are terms. These 2 are not separated by addition, subtraction, or an equal sign, so it's 1 term. That's 1 term, and this is 1 term. In fact, when we write expressions like 9 minus, put a big gap, and then cram these 2 together, it'll help us see that, this is one term, this is another term. And then you can work in each term separately. This term, well, you can't, nothing you can do with it. It becomes still 9. This term becomes 6. And then we get 3 like this. All right. When we look at how many terms are there in something, it forces us to think of the only things that separate things are addition, subtraction, multiplication. And when we have parentheses or absolute value, that kind of makes it into one big group. And we don't really ask so much in terms there. We just think this is one term, this is another term. Now let's go on. All right, so we can see what we saw was that when you get all these extra operations, because of absolute value, because of order of operations, it can get kind of tricky. All right, well, let's come down to here. For each of the following numbers, give the opposite and the absolute value. And we're going to do number 36. All right, we're almost out of time here today, so I'm just going to do this real quickly. The opposite is negative 5/7. The opposite of a number is such that when you add it to it, you get 0. The absolute value of 5/7 we can write with these vertical bars. And since it's positive, it just stays the same. And so, if you're taking the absolute value of a negative number, it strips off the negative sign. If you take the absolute value of a positive number, it just keeps it the way it is. It's distance from 0 on the number line, so it's always positive. Okay? Now, all these different problems I've been doing are problems right from the homework page. So you're kind of going to be familiar with the directions, and you'll be able to do some of these problems. Now this one says, place this symbol either less than or greater than between each of the following to make the statement true. All right. So let me just review. This would be read 5 is greater than 3. And if you ever get mixed up with these less than or greater than, which one's less than, which one's greater than, you can think of it as there's one of the very first computer games that was made that became popular was Pac-Man, and it opens its mouth always to the bigger number. It's smart, it's going to eat the bigger number. It goes down to a point at the smaller number. So this is the direction of the greater than or the less than. And when we have these, notice if they're both negative, we just think of a number line. If here's 0, and here's negative 3, and here's negative 5. Negative 5 is smaller than negative 3. And it makes sense in terms of money. A person who owes $5 has less money than a person who only owes $3. Okay? And if I did something like 51, I would have, I'd have to figure out what this is first. Now, two negatives don't interact with each other because the absolute value of negative 7 has to happen first. The absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7. So you're going to get 7 and negative 7. And so, well, of course, that one's the larger one. 7 is greater than negative 7. And then the last thing, draw a number line, label these points. The only thing is that you might not know is recall this. 4 goes into 9 2 times with a remainder of 1. So you'd have to convert it to a mixed numeral. And then 2 1/4 might be a dot. Oops. Right about here. It has a hard time making dots. There we go. Just a little bit to the right of 2 1/4 of the way over. All right, so we're going to stop here. Your homework is 1.1. It doesn't mean all the problems in 1.1. If you are back in the modules, you can look at the assignment list, look at all the assignments, here's all the homework, or you can go into the 1.1 and you'll see it's just these 3 through 54 multiples of 3. Now when it says multiples of 3, it means 3, 6, 9, 12, so on all the way up to 54. Okay. So, and then 71 through 77 all. And then you have 2 problems you need to check with members of your group. And we will stop here. I am going to stop the videotape. And I'm going to ask for some help on this.